Hey guys, today we are going to analyze let people own exotic animals. A couple days ago, we looked at wild animals aren't pets. We looked at the claim, we looked at the evidence, we looked at the emotions that the author tried to get from us. And today, we're going to compare that with this story. So, let people own exotic animals. First of all, when we look at this title, we can already tell the claim of this title, especially when we know we're reading it in reference to in response to the other story. So we know that the author probably is going to think that people should be allowed to own exotic animals. Notice that this does have an author. So um, this is not an editorial like the previous one. This was written by a person who has her name put out there. So she is not ashamed of her views and she wants everyone to know them. And we see that the photograph used here, we have a wild animal, we have a little boy. They look like they are being really sweet to each other. It's not a picture that makes us feel scared. It supports the fact that people should be allowed to own exotic animals. So let's start reading. The recent tragedy in Zanesville, Ohio brought back the question of whether private ownership of wild and exotic animals should be legal. The simple answer is yes. So there's our claim. Responsible private ownership of exotic animals should be legal if animal welfare is taken care of. Okay, so the author does not just say that everyone should be allowed to own wild or exotic animals. She does stipulate that only people who are going to take care of them um, should be allowed to own them. And so I would be willing to bet that this author would agree that there should be some rules and regulations regarding how people are allowed to um, get and keep wild animals. So she's not just saying that everyone should be allowed to own them and there are should be no regulations. Terry Thompson didn't represent the typical responsible owner. He had a criminal record and animal abuse charges. What Thompson did was selfish and insane. We cannot regulate insanity. So, this is a counter argument. Okay. So, she is addressing the fact that her opponents are saying you shouldn't be allowed to own exotic animals because of this one man. So she's saying, okay, guys, listen, this is why that doesn't, we shouldn't consider that. It's a counter argument. Okay. And she's saying he wasn't your typical owner. He had a criminal record, he abused his animals. Typical owners would not do that. And we can't regulate insanity. So basically, she's saying he is insane. He's not the person that we would typically look at to own these kind of animals. Again, we have a photograph where there is a man feeding a little primate with a bottle. And obviously, this is made to make us think, oh, look, they're cute. We should want one. People should be allowed to have those. People keep exotic animals for commercial reasons and as pets. Most exotic animals, such as big cats, bears, or apes, are in commercial, federally inspected facilities. These animals are born into captivity and not stolen from the wild. Captive breeding eliminates the pressure on wild populations and also serves as a backup in case the animals go extinct. So, this is a reason why people should own them um, because it helps these vulnerable populations. So they're born in a captivity, and in the case that they were ever to be endangered, you have some animals on standby or backup, basically. Okay, and notice she said federally inspected facilities. So these animals are typically not in people's homes, they're in facilities that are regulated by the government. Dangers from exotic animals are low. On average, in the United States, only 3.25 people per year are killed by captive big snakes, big cats, snakes, elephants, and bears. Okay, so here is a fact. She made a statement, dangers are low, and then she supported that with a fact. 3.25 people are killed by these animals per year. And then, of course, it's up to you to judge if you think 3.25 is too many, but she has provided the fact for you. Most of these fatalities are owners, family members, friends, and trainers voluntarily on the property where the animals were kept. Meanwhile, traffic accidents kill about 125 people per day. So there, she gives you a number to compare to how many versus traffic accidents versus people killed by these animals. And she also points out that the people who are killed are not members of the public, but people who are actually on the property for a purpose. So voluntarily, they chose to be there. If we have the freedom to choose what car to buy, where to live, or what domestic animal to have, why shouldn't we have the same freedom to choose what species of wild or exotic animal to own and to love? So this is emotion. This is pointing to our emotions, trying to draw out that sense of freedom. We're free. We should be allowed to do whatever we want. Okay, so that's what she's trying to do there. Again, we have another photograph. We have a cat playing with a ball, and that's just a happy little photograph to make us think that these animals are safe and we should be allowed to own them. Would the Ohio situation be any different if the animals were owned by a government and their caretaker released them? Is this really about private ownership, or is it about certain people's personal issues with exotics in captivity? Okay, so she gives us a good point. Something to think about. Do we just care about the fact that these animals are in captivity, or are we actually worried about people's safety? Some people do have a problem with animals that are supposed to be in the wild being held captive. There are reasons that these animals are in captivity. Number one, their natural habitats are being destroyed, and so they don't have as much place to be. And in order to make sure that we preserve certain species, there almost has to be some captivity of these species. I know one example is the reticulated giraffe. Their numbers have gotten dangerously low, so there is a propagation program in the United States in which zoos are working together to breed giraffes so that we don't actually lose that species. So some people do have a problem with those animals being in captivity. So what the author is saying is, are we concerned about the danger, or are we concerned about the animal's safety? Because those are two, or safety and comfort, because those are two different things. If society overreacts and bans exotics because of actions of a few deranged individuals, then we need to ban kids, as this is the only way to totally stop child abuse. And we need to ban humans because that is the only way to stop murder. Silly, isn't it? So she's trying to point out that you can't just ban everything because there is a slight chance of danger. You have to make sound decisions. And so if we go back and look, we do find that although there is some emotionally charged content, she does provide some fact for us. And in the end, guys, it's up to you to choose. You have to decide which of these authors you agree with, which one presented their case better, which one provided the most facts, which one do you feel like best reflects how you personally feel. So you can look at this and decide. Personally, I think that with the correct regulations, that people should be allowed to own exotic animals. I believe that having exotics in captivity is helpful for certain species, and I tend to agree with the second author, but we are all allowed to choose whichever side that we would like to choose. All right, I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.